Are you passionate about classical music and curious to uncover its hidden gems? Celebrate Polish classical music with Acte Prealable, the world's premier label dedicated to best recordings of Polish classical music. Featuring Poland's finest artists and praised by critics worldwide, our podcast delves into the lives and works of extraordinary Polish artists and composers. Each episode includes expert insights from renowned music critics, offering unique perspectives and unparalleled depth. Tune in and discover the beauty of Polish classical music, a hidden treasure awaiting your exploration. In today's episode, we journey through the life of Aleksander Tansman, a wandering Polish Jewish composer whose heart never left Poland. Aleksander Tansman, 1897 to 1986, is probably the most underappreciated Polish composer of the 20th century. He was a remarkably prolific composer whose oeuvre encompasses over 300 works across virtually every genre, from 7 operas and 10 ballets to 9 symphonies, concertos, chamber pieces, and pedagogical music. Born in Poland and established in France, he wove together the clarity and formal balance of French neoclassicism with the melodic warmth of Polish folk idioms, the spirit of his Jewish heritage, and the lively rhythms of American dance. From the very beginning of his career, Tansman showed an instinct for innovation within tradition. Soon, he developed a highly personal harmonic language, featuring vertical structures that critics dubbed skyscrapers, and a rhythmic vocabulary distinguished by metrical contrasts and motoric drive. He also introduced formal devices, nicknamed bridges or pliers, to bind musical ideas together with unusual clarity. Yet for all this originality, his art remained aristocratically elegant, intensely lyrical, and meticulously crafted. Born and raised in the city of Łódź in central Poland, Tansman came from a wealthy Lithuanian Jewish family. His hometown was a melting pot of Polish, Jewish, German, and Russian cultures, and his liberal household was a microcosm of the coming century. The sound of French conversation, the presence of foreign governesses, and the revolutionary crackle of the phonograph were not mere luxuries, but the foundational elements of his cosmopolitan spirit. At a very young age, he not only learned 5 languages, Polish, Russian, German, French, and English, but also came to understand that culture is a dialogue, not a fortress to be defended. He learned to play the piano very early, at about 4 or 5 years old. He began composing at the age of 8 or 9. From 1902 to 1914, Tansman studied piano, harmony, and counterpoint at the Łódź Conservatory. He never formally studied orchestration. In 1915, he left Łódź to study in Warsaw. There he worked to expand his musical knowledge, studying counterpoint, musical form, and composition with Piotr Rytel. Although he studied law at the University of Warsaw, music was his true vocation. This dual education, one foot in the practical world and the other in the realm of art, would serve him well in the decades of displacement to come. In 1919, shortly before leaving Poland for France, Tansman won the first composers' competition held in independent Poland and even claimed the second and third prizes by submitting additional works under aliases. His departure for Paris in 1919 was not a rejection of Poland, but a pilgrimage to the modern world's artistic epicenter. Winning Poland's first national composition competition opened the door. His genius secured his place. In the vibrant, chaotic milieu of interwar Paris, among the École de Paris composers, a constellation of brilliant outsiders, Tansman forged his unique voice. Under Maurice Ravel's influence, he absorbed the art of crystalline structure and orchestral color. Yet he refused to become a mere imitator. His neoclassicism was not cold or abstract. It was warmed by the rhythmic vitality of the Krakowiak and the harmonic melancholy of the mazurka. He performed his own piano concertos with the Boston and Chicago symphony orchestras. A Polish Jew from Łódź, now a star of the international stage. He became a cultural diplomat for Poland, championing the music of Polish composer Karol Szymanowski in the salons of Paris, and ensuring that the voice of Polish modernism was heard alongside its Western counterparts. In 1932 to 1933, Tansman undertook a remarkable world tour, tracing a musical arc from the concert halls of America through the temples of Asia and the deserts of Egypt, finally arriving in Italy, each stop enriching his artistic language. His world tour was the stuff of legend, an unprecedented journey for a composer of his stature. In America, he hung out with jazz luminaries such as Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Art Tatum. He also formed friendships with Charlie Chaplin and George Gershwin, assisting Gershwin in orchestrating the score for An American in Paris. During the same tour, he was a personal guest of both Emperor Hirohito and Mahatma Gandhi. Imagine this slight, elegant man performing his refined, rhythmically complex works in Tokyo, then immersing himself in the ancient, microtonal world of Japanese gagaku. Picture him in India, absorbing the intricate rhythms of tabla masters, or in Egypt, surrounded by the echoes of the call to prayer. These experiences didn't merely become souvenirs, they seeped into his musical language, adding a layer of global consciousness to his already rich palette. He was, in a sense, a sonic cartographer, drawing lines of connection between continents. This journey deepened his understanding of rhythm as a universal language. The polyrhythmic complexities of Asian and Middle Eastern music would subtly inform his later compositions, particularly in his orchestral works. In June 1938, as Europe darkened, Tansman received French citizenship, bestowed by Albert Lebrun, the last president of the Third Republic, securing a fragile sense of belonging in a continent on the brink. But the rise of fascism soon shattered his cosmopolitan dream. After the fall of France in 1940, he went into hiding, fully realizing that his Jewish heritage and his art had made him an enemy of the Nazi regime. In 1941, aided by a constellation of friends and artistic luminaries, including Charlie Chaplin, Arturo Toscanini, and Jascha Heifetz, he boarded the last ship across the Atlantic before the attack on Pearl Harbor. Upon arriving in the United States, he settled in Hollywood, where he found refuge, but also experienced a new kind of exile. The film industry's demand for dramatic immediacy often clashed with his more abstract musical narratives, yet he composed prolifically. His work included the score for the film Paris Underground, for which he received a 1946 Oscar nomination for Best Music Score. Simultaneously, he maintained a creative dialogue with Stravinsky and Schoenberg, the twin pillars of 20th century music. His personal friendship and intellectual companionship with Stravinsky, culminating in his authoritative book on the Russian master, revealed him not merely as a composer, but as a profound musical thinker. His post-war return to Paris in 1946 was bittersweet. The city had changed. The avant-garde of Boulez and Stockhausen now held sway, and his lyrical neoclassicism was deemed passé. In communist Poland, his émigré status and cosmopolitanism rendered him politically suspect, his music quietly marginalized. But Tansman's response was not one of bitterness. Instead, he turned inward, composing some of his most profound and personal works, where he explored his Jewish heritage and the eternal themes of messianic hope and disillusionment. In works like Homage à Chopin, he reached back across time to clasp the hand of his spiritual predecessor, another Polish exile who transformed national longing into universal art. He never renounced his Polish identity. In private letters, he often invoked the phrase "native land," endowing it with the solemn weight of a sacred vow. In 1982, Tansman composed a mazurka for Lech Wałęsa, then leader of Solidarity, imprisoned by the communist regime and later president of Poland. It was a powerful symbolic gesture, linking his lifelong artistic commitment to the emerging struggle for freedom in his homeland. Aleksander Tansman's life and music stand as a testament to the idea that roots can be both deep and far-reaching, stretching across borders, generations, and cultural fault lines. He was a composer who belonged everywhere and nowhere, a nomad whose true home was the boundless landscape of music itself. Celebrated across Europe and the United States, Tansman became the first Polish composer to marry a predominantly classicist outlook with a vast modern repertoire. In the post-war period, he explored even more radical techniques: sound clusters, textural collisions, metro-rhythmical complexity, while never abandoning his core mission to find a fresh classical aesthetic. In the end, his greatest legacy lies in his masterful ability to bridge past and future, tradition and innovation, crafting music that feels both timeless and unmistakably of its own era. But Tansman's legacy is also part of a larger, luminous thread in Polish cultural history, one woven by artists of Jewish heritage whose creativity helped define the nation's artistic soul. From the poetic cadences of Julian Tuwim and the philosophical depth of Roman Ingarden to the cinematic visions of Alexander Ford and Roman Polanski, from Adi Rosner's jazz-inflected innovation to Władysław Szpilman's musical resilience, this enduring symbiosis of Polish and Jewish artistry has produced works of profound resonance. Tansman's music, blending Polish folk idioms, French refinement, and Jewish introspection, embodies that dialogue. Never static, always evolving. Ultimately, his story reminds us that the most universal art often springs from the most personal longings. Tansman carried Poland in his heart, not as a fixed geography, but as a living idea. His music speaks to anyone who has ever felt the ache of distance, the pull of home, and the power of art to reconcile what history has divided. Through him, and through others like him, the intertwined legacies of Polish and Jewish culture continue to sing.